Hello, guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I am joined in sort of part by Matt Turner. Obviously, with this being Thanksgiving week, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope you had a lovely, lovely Thursday. Obviously, with it being Thanksgiving week, myself and Matt couldn't quite get our schedules to coalesce as such. So the Stardom Cast and indeed the Marigold Standard, which we've already recorded, so you'll get the explanation in this and the Marigold Standard as well. We've had to record it basically on our own, and then I've had to sort of try and splice it together to create some sort of cohesive episode. We weren't helped by Stardom and Marigold both having video on demand shows as well. So the Tag League wasn't so bad because it came up pretty much the next day. But for Marigold, especially with those shows from the weekend not dropping till the last show drops on Thursday, it was really difficult to get as a time and, a decent amount of time to record. So we said just for this week, we would record separately and I would splice it together. And then next week, when we record for Stardom anyway, to talk about those last two nights of the Tag League, including the finals for that pay-per-view in Hamamatsu on the 30th, we'll be back to your usually scheduled programming. I believe Talk Joshi is still fine. I believe that we'll still have Matt and Andy recording as normal. In terms of what we are going to talk about today, because again, there was so many shows from the Goddess of Stardom Tag League this week that, again, trying to fit in multiple shows this week was just impossible. So Matt dropped a sort of bite-sized episode reviewing nights 8 and 9 of the Tag League. That is already in your feeds. Go and check that out. What we are doing today is we are going to talk about night 10 from Kanamyojin Hall, and then we are going to quickly whip through the results from today's show in KBS Hall, give you our very brief thoughts on that, and then sort of walk through the bracket, because obviously the playoff and semi-final bracket is pretty much complete now. We know the 6 teams that are going to be taking part. We know the two teams that will top the block and will go over into the semi-finals. So I'll go through just a very quick amount of news. We'll talk about Kanamyojin Hall. I'll throw to Matt, who will then go into all of the in-depth analysis of all the matches, and then we'll cut back to me, go through KBS Hall and all of the results. At the time of recording, we didn't have an announced attendance figure for that show. We will go through in more detail the KBS show when myself and Matt record together next week, and we will add that on to our reviews from Osaka on the 29th and Act City Hamamatsu on the 30th. But I wanted to go through the results because obviously that directly impacts both my and Matt's preview and predictions, and that's what we will end on today. Myself and Matt will go through the bracket and we'll basically tell you who we think is going to win each match and who is ultimately going to come out on top. And it's going to be fun because I honestly have no idea. I'm looking at the bracket now. I know roughly where I think it's going to go. However, with the interesting direction Stardom have gone with this Tag League, and your lack of, quote unquote, established teams that we would ordinarily expect to go into that final, no O2 line, no Siori Poi, no FWC, and whatever guys they are. And instead, we've got Bozilla and Akira Kuragane. We've got Saya Korora. These teams that are obviously given a push, those people that haven't necessarily been given the spotlight, I am really excited to see what they can do on a bigger stage. We'll get into all of that. But before we do, let's look at some news from the world of Stardom. And we're going to start with that bracket, ironically, because Stardom did announce today that when they first published the brackets on the 4th of November, and if you remember, it was a very big rush because on the 4th of November, we still didn't know any of the teams, any of the blocks, or how this tournament was going to play out. We now know, of course, it's because of injuries and things like that. But with the first show of the tournament being on the 7th, it was still quite rushed. Mistakes were bound to happen, and one of those mistakes is on this bracket. So initially on this bracket, we knew that the top 3 teams from each block were going to go through. First place in the block, or first seed, would go straight into the semi-finals, and second and third in the block would have a playoff match to see who would then face that top seed in the semi-finals. Initially, on the first published bracket, both the semi-final and the playoff were both supposed to take part on the 29th of November in Osaka. That's not the case. It's been announced today that that was a mistake. Only the playoff matches are tomorrow in Osaka. I'm immediately dating this podcast by saying that, but on the 29th in Osaka, both the semi-finals and the finals will take place on the 30th of November in Act City, Hamamatsu. So tomorrow's show, which I believe is live on Stardom World, that will just be your playoff matches, which we'll go into obviously a little bit later on. However, your semifinals, they will take place on the 30th alongside the final in Act City, Hamamatsu on Stardom pay-per-view. So that's just something that is very important to the next scheduled programming over the next couple of days. Now, obviously, this is a little bit of a spoiler now, but one of those teams that did make it through to the playoffs was Anacon, Syuri, and Saki Kashima. They held Mega Skyscrapers to a time limit draw, meaning that they went through. Unfortunately, it was announced almost immediately after the show that Saki Kashima did sustain an injury in this match. I don't know where. I don't know if it was a pre-existing injury that was aggravated during the match or if there was a specific spot. I haven't actually managed to catch this match yet, believe it or not. I've been at work and I've literally just got in from work to record this, so I haven't had a chance to see everything as of yet. But Saki, unfortunately, will not be able to participate on the show on the 29th in Osaka. As a result, Anacon have withdrawn. So they are, even though they finished second in the block, they will not be participating in the playoffs and will instead be replaced by Saya Iida and B. Priestley, who I have found out today are called Gorilla Trigger. That's a great name. That's so much better than Saya Bida, which I was trying to make work. No. Gorilla Trigger, great name. So obviously our thoughts and wishes are with Saki Kashima, who unfortunately has such a rotten record and rotten luck when it comes to injuries at the moment. Fingers crossed it is nothing serious. I think her and Syuri have been one of the most entertaining parts of this tag league alongside Bozilla and Akira Kuragane. So fingers crossed she is okay. Again, Anacon will not be participating in the Tag League playoffs, even though they made it through due to Saki's injury, and will be replaced by the Gorilla Trigger team. Such an awesome name. Saya Iida and B. Priestley. So we'll talk a little bit about what those brackets will actually look like when we get to those shows. Next thing I just want to talk about is completely out of nowhere, Saya Kamatani announced that she had an announcement on Instagram Live. Now, as those of you that are regular listeners to the show will know, I can't take it when people have announcements. When Starlight Kid announced her anniversary show and Stardom announced it as some sort of awful thing, it was, couldn't deal with it. Anyway, so Saya Kamatani had this announcement. Luckily, nothing bad. It was actually an announcement that her autobiography will be released on February 20th, 2026, published by Kodakawa Shotan. All this information, by the way, translated by at Mira Wrestling on Twitter. The title of the autobiography is going to be the story of how I went from a dropout idol to standing at the center of the pro wrestling world. A typically concise title there. And basically, Saya has said that she wrote everything from right back from when she was born, from her days as a dancer to an idol, to when she became a Stardom trainee, and then right up to now without holding anything back. Now, when you consider the year that Saya Kamatani has had, that's going to make for an exceptionally intriguing read. Fingers crossed, obviously, that there will be some sort of translation out there. I'm sure there will be excerpts that are translated, but obviously, unfortunately, I still haven't managed to read Mayu Utani's autobiography because, again, it's only been published in Japan. Fingers crossed, this Sire autobiography will be at least partially translated into English at some point in the near future. However, great news for the Phoenix Queen, who again has had an unprecedented year this year. And I'm looking forward to her thoughts on her own run, on her heel turn, on the Marigold split as well, losing Utami Hayashishita, the split of Queen's Quest, all of these things I'm really interested, especially if it's a candid autobiography, which again I'm not too sure whether it will be completely candid or if part of it will be kayfabe or what. Either way, I hope that we get some sort of, of from the heart from those things. Because ultimately, yes, of course, Saya Kamatani, fantastic performer at the top of her game at the moment, but she is a human being. And these things, especially losing her best friend to a different company, in the circumstances that happened, I feel like that would affect her, and as it would affect all of us. So I'm looking forward to reading and hearing her thoughts on that. So yes, just to reiterate, February the 20th, 2026, the story of how I went from a dropout idol to standing at the center of the pro wrestling world. Moving on, some more good news. November 30th at City Hamamatsu, the Goddess of Stardom Tag League finals on pay-per-view. We'll see Uriah Hime come back from injury. We've been missing Uriah since New Blood 25, actually. So a long while ago, just over a month. In fact, it'll be close to 2 months by the time she comes back. It has been confirmed that she will return for that show, which is great news. Really looking forward to seeing Uriah at the moment, especially as Stars is so just terrifyingly thin at the moment, with obviously Sayurita, B. Priestley having come back in for the tag league, and Momo Kogo as well. It's a shame that Uriah missed this, because we've seen, and we're going to talk a little bit about this later on, we've seen this tag league being such a springboard for a lot of talent. Akira Kuragane in particular, at least for me. And I think Uriah Hime, had she been fit for the tag league, I feel like Pete's Lily would have been a shoo-in for this tournament, and we'd have seen, just like we did for the 5-star Grand Prix, Uriah Hime really, really, really impressing. And it's a shame that she's missed it. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about injuries or anything like that. We will see her, though, back for November 30th, and obviously December, a huge month for Stardom. Korakuen Hall on December 24th, New Blood on December 25th, and then, of course, the big one, Dream Queendom at Sumo Hall on the 29th. Speaking of December, in Korakuen Hall, Oz Academy will be running the Korakuen Hall venue on the 30th of December, just announced for that card. Currently, it is the only match announced as well, is BMI 2000 taking on Soriano and Mayumi Ozaki. This has been bubbling for a couple of weeks on Twitter, with Mayumi Ozaki calling out Taro Okada and basically calling him a coward for not putting this match together. Currently, it is not for the Goddesses of Stardom Championships. Now, there is obviously a couple of reasons for that. One, I assume, or we are to assume, that BMI 2000 are going to be defending those belts at Dream Queendom against the Tag League winners, should BMI 2000 not win the Tag League, which is a possibility. But that shot could quite easily happen at Korakuen Hall as well. You have got that big event. In fact, you've got 2 Korakuen Hall events, just thinking about it. You've got one at the start of December and then one on Christmas Eve. So you might well have that Tag League shot from winning the Tag League at one of those shows, as opposed to Dream Queendom. Perhaps if BMI 2000 retain those belts, perhaps then we'll see Mayumi Ozaki and Soriano challenge for them at Korakuen Hall on this Oz Academy show on the 30th. Something that is up, though, is Ruaka will have to return the Oz Academy belt should they lose. But seeing as that was a stipulation in their all-out war in the Yokohama Budokan last month, and Ruaka still didn't give it back, it's going to take a lot, I think, to get the Violent Freezer to deliver that belt back. But that is going to be very exciting. I think that's another show that myself and Matt might have to attend whilst we are in Japan, which, again, it's a hard life, but there we are. Another match that got announced just literally mere minutes before I actually pressed the record button. Syuri and Rana Yagami have been announced for the Strong Style Pro Wrestling 20th anniversary show. They will team up against the team of Chi-Chi and Yuko Sakurai. They will be on the 4th of December in Korakuen, the 20th anniversary of the company. That is going to be a fantastic match and certainly one to check out. That pretty much wraps up the news. And with that, we'll delve straight into night number 10 of the Tag League. This one taking place on the 26th of November from the Kanamyojin Hall. The announcement was a complete sellout of 270. It's only the second time, by the way, the company have run the venue, with it being a 12.97% increase on the 239 they drew for New Blood 26 on the 30th of October. In terms of other companies that have run the venue, there's only really DDT and LLPWX that have run this venue, as well as Stardom, and 270 appears to be the highest number at the venue as of yet. DDT didn't announce the numbers for their shows. It did outdraw the LLPWX shows, and it did outdraw the TJPW show as well. So a great number for Stardom. A couple of things to note from this show before we get into the results, so to speak. Emma Maishima returned to action on this show, which was great. We have missed her on shows alongside Suzu Suzuki through an injury. She returned on this show, which was great. In terms of scenarios, so again, at this point, the only people eliminated from the Tag League were Reckless Fantasy, Hina and Rani Yagami, O2 Line, and the team of Suzu Suzuki and Rana and Rina Yamashita, Osu Chimidoru Onojuku. I'm so sorry if I've mispronounced that in any way. But in terms of different scenarios heading into this show, a loss to Sayori Boy would have seen Bozilla and Akira Kurigane eliminated from the block. Sari and Miku Kanai could also see themselves eliminated from the tournament should they lose to Dos Locos de Mexico. BMI 2000 would be guaranteed a place in the playoffs if they were to beat Aqua Stella. And Mega Skyscrapers, if they recorded a victory over Suzu Suzuki and Hanako, then they will be guaranteed the top spot in the Blue Goddess block, therefore receiving that bye into the semifinals. Anacon, if they win, if Saya Karora defeated Anacon and Raiwa Tokyo Towers lost to O2 Line, they would also be eliminated from the blue block. Honestly, trying to sort out the scenarios over the last couple of days has been a gargantuan task, but there we are. Anyway, let's get into the results before we throw to Matt to give you his thoughts on this show. We opened with a tag team match. As I've lost my notes, they've disappeared. There we go. Sairida and Momo Kogo defeating the EXV team of Waka Tsukiyama and Rian. Sairida pinning Rian with a lariat in 9 minutes and 12 seconds. Next on the card, B. Priestley and Kikyo Furusawa defeated the returning Emma Maishima and Rani Yagami in 7 minutes and 53 seconds, with B. Priestley getting the win over Emma with the grounded octopus stretch. Into Tag League action, indeed, the rest of these matches are Tag League now. Red Goddess block action. BMI 2000, Natsuko Tora and Ruaka moved to 10 points and qualified for the playoffs, defeating Aqua Stella, Meisera, and Yuna Mizumori, who stayed on 7 points in 6 minutes and 41 seconds. Moved on to some Blue Stars action. O2 Line, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki finally recorded a second win of the tournament to move 4 points, defeating the Reiwa Tokyo Towers in the process. Amisori and Lady Miyu Amasaki rolling up Amisori with the Amana Hashidate in 9 minutes and 55 seconds. That keeps the Reiwa Tokyo Towers on 6 points and does eliminate them from the tag league due to obviously this being their final match of the tournament. If you'd have told me at the start of the tag league that O2 Line and the Reiwa Tokyo Towers would be eliminated from proceedings before the final night of block action, I'd have thought you were a bit strange, I'll be perfectly honest, but there we are. That is what's happened in this year's tag league. More Blue Stars action. Anacon, Tsuyoshi and Saki Kashima moved to 8 points. They defeated Sayaka Aurora, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora, who remained on 6 points. Saki Kashima pinning Sayaka Kurora with the most dangerous move in pro wrestling, the Kish Kasai, in 10 minutes and 21 seconds. We then moved to the Red Goddess block where Sari and Miku Kanai moved to 6 points, defeating Dos Locas de Mexico, Osita and Tiatleco. There we go. Nailed it. Sari pinning Osita with a ground style manji hold in 9 minutes and 27 seconds. This moves Miku Kanai and Sari up to 6 points and keeps Dos Locas de Mexico on 7. The semi-main event saw Chimadoru Onajuku. Again, I'm going to assume I've absolutely nailed that. Suzu Suzuki and Rina Yamashita recording their first win of the tournament, moving to 2 points. They defeated the Mega Skyscrapers, Hanako and Megan Bain, their first loss of the tournament. They remain on 10 points, with Rina Yamashita pinning Hanako with the splash landing in 13 minutes and 14 seconds. And then in your main event, one of the biggest shocks of the tournament, Red Goddess action, Bozilla and Akira Kuragane keep themselves alive. They get the win over Saori Poi, moving to 6 points, with Bozilla getting the win with a sit-out powerbomb in 14 minutes and 32 seconds. Saori Poi still alive in the red block, as is Bozilla and Akira Kuragane. With that, it's time to throw to my Joshi brother in arms, your friend and my friend. It is, of course, Matt Turner. Matt Turner, what were your thoughts on Wednesday's show, good sir?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stardom Cast. This is a podcast we talk all things about the fantastic, amazing, and spectacular professional wrestling company that is Stardom. And folks, we do it in a positive and we like to think fun manner. I'm your host for this mini bonus episode. My name is Matt Turner, and folks, we are at the tail end of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. I'm here to give my quick predictions for the semifinals and finals. Coming up in just a handful of hours, we are starting the playoffs and the finals. So a lot of interesting things as we march on, just about a month away from Sumo Hall in Ryogoku Kakakigan. But here we are, folks. So again, here's what we're going to do. I think more than likely, Rob is going to kind of stitch my solo podcast and his solo podcast together. So this way we get a little preview and predictions for the two shows coming up this weekend, the playoffs for the Goddess of Stardom Tag League and the finals, the semifinals and the finals. So folks, I am letting you know right now I'm recording this on Friday around 9 a.m., November 28th. So just a few hours after the regular playoff or the regular play-in for the Goddess of Stardom Tag League is finished. And I'm glad because I was going to hit record right after I watched. I said, let me get a little workout in, let me get the blood flowing. I'm glad I did, because breaking news is that Shuri and Saki Kashima, who qualified for the playoffs, Saki Kashima suffered an injury in the show today against Hanako and Megan Bain. So Shuri and Saki Kashima are out of the playoffs, and B. Priestley and Saya Ida are now in. Saya Beasley, I think that's the name of the makeshift team. But I'm glad, because I was like, I'll just roll right into it. And I'm glad that I took a step back, took a little nap, and then got a little workout in, getting the blood pumping and get ready to rock and roll for this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm also going to review the show on Wednesday, the 26th from November, the show night number 10. So I'm going to review that as well. And then the plan next week is for Rob and I to record together and review the show from Friday, the playoff show from Saturday, and the final show from Sunday. So that is scheduled what to happen. So it's just been really crazy busy. Rob's just been slammed at work. I have the holidays season here. For us in the United States has just started. Yesterday was Thanksgiving, and if you celebrated Thanksgiving, I hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you had a great time. I hope you overate, because that's the idea when it comes to Thanksgiving. I sure did. A lot of turkey, a lot of sweet potatoes, a lot of dessert. So that's why I needed that workout this morning, folks. That's why I needed the workout this morning. So it's just been tricky for us to kind of get the schedules together with all the family time I have, with the holidays and whatnot, and Rob's work schedule. So we figured what we'll do is I did the solo episode earlier this week, and then we're just going to kind of stitch these two together. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly review the show from the 26th. I'll go over the playoff scenario that is going to be coming up as you listen to this in just a handful of hours on Saturday morning. And I'm going to give my predictions, because my predictions have been way off. This is kind of a wild playoff scenario that we do have. No FWC or DML, whatever you want to call them. No Sorry Boy, no O2 line, no Lady C and Ami Soy. So a lot of the favorites are out of the tournament, but we'll get into that in a moment. And again, before I get into this show on the 26th, just a quick shout out to my guy, Darren Chatton. Just needed the attendance numbers for this show on Wednesday, the 26th. Sent him a message, and about 2 minutes later, he sent me the attendance number. So as always, Darren, thank you so much, as we kind of just want to get this out, so this way you can listen to it Friday night before the show on Saturday. So 270 people here on the show on the 26th. This, I believe, Stardom reported this as a sellout. I think this was the first time they ran said building. So folks, let's just get into the matches here. We opened up with Momo Kogo and Saya Ida back together again, taking on Reckless Fantasy of Rion and Waka. It was a really great match, really fast-paced action with Momo Kogo and Rion starting off. Really great chemistry between the two. And then we get Saida. She comes in. We get some quick tags with Saida and Momo Kogo. Again, these two work really well together as a tag team, as we're still waiting for Uriah Hime to come back from injury. I believe they did announce that she will be there on the show on the finals, making her in-ring return. And obviously waiting for Hanan to come back with her injury as well. But Momo Kogo and Saida absolutely crushing it. Great double teamwork on Rion. Waka comes in, makes the big save. We get hip attacks to both Momo Kogo and Saida. Excellent stuff there. Rion tags back in. It's a beautiful crossbody onto Saida. That scores Rion a 2 count. Saida then starts chopping away at Rion. She goes to corner whipper from corner to corner. However, Rion hits that corner Rana and dropkick combination. That's really a staple of her offense. That scores Rion a 2 count. Saida goes for some chops. However, Rion blocks the chops, and now Rion's new thing is stomping on the foot, which sucks, folks. If anybody's ever done any grappling or wrestling or striking, while you're trying to make movement and getting your foot stomped, it sucks. It hurts, but it's more annoying than probably hurting. So I thoroughly enjoy that. We get really great near falls with Rion and Saida, with Rion almost catching Saida on a few falls. Momo Kogo, she comes in the ring. She hits a springboard dropkick to both Waka and Rion. And then Saida used a huge running lariat to Rion, scoring the 3 count. 3 3/4 stars for me. A great way to start the show with Saida getting the win over Rion with that big lariat. Match number 2, B. Priestley teaming up with the rookie Kikyo Furusawa, taking on another rookie, Emma Mashima and Rana Yagami. This match starts off with great, and again, Kikyo and Emma graduating in the same class together. These two have really great chain wrestling chemistry. Great way to start off this match with some great fundamentals to both Emma and Kikyo. Thoroughly enjoy that. Rana comes in and she enjoys kicking one Kikyo Furusawa. And then we get the elder statesman or woman of this match, former World of Stardom champion, now in the playoffs of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. She made it to the playoffs of the 5-star Grand Prix, and I'm absolutely loving B. Priestley's current run in Stardom. I mentioned it last week. I'm going to mention it again. She's having an absolute ball. She's having so much fun. There was great stuff with B and Rana. Give me a 10, 11-minute match on a random Stardom World show somewhere with B versus Rana. These two absolutely wailed into each other. B with those knees, the bee's knees, I guess. I didn't really mean to do that. The bee's knees onto Rana. Rana with the forearms and the kicks. Bee with the forearms. Really great stuff. Bee's been really doing a great job getting that Falcon Arrow over. She hits the Falcon Arrow onto Emma and then locks Emma in a seated octopus, forcing Emma to tap out. 3.25 stars for me. Folks, we go to match number 3 as we go to Red Stars action. May Sarah and Yuna Mizumori coming in with 7 points, taking on the tag champs of BMI 2000 of Natsuko Tora and Ruaka. BMI 2000 coming in with 8 points, and pretty much a win from BMI 2000 pretty much will guarantee them a spot in the playoffs. So we get the BMI 2000. They tried to jump May, Sarah, and Yuna Mizumori, but we're May and Yuna. The psychology of this is really simple. Where they have the clear advantages, we're faster than these two. We can't outpower them. They clearly have the tag advantage because they've been tagging together off and on for 3 years. They're the tag champs. They're leading the Red Stars block. How are we going to beat them? With high-speed wrestling. So I like that. BMI 2000, they try the hate style jump, works against them. So I thought that was great. Yuna hits a pair of lariats to Natsuko Tora. Natsuko Tora is having a great underrated year. I mean, just great singles matches, great tag matches. Went back, watched some of her matches from the 5-star Grand Prix. Tomoka Inaba, Starlight Kid. Natsuko Tora, very much like Suzu Suzuki, is quietly having like one of the best in-ring years of her career, really. But and she was great here. Tora here and Yuna absolutely tore it up with the clotheslines, the forearms, the strikings. Really, really great stuff here. We get some fantastic teamwork from BMI 2000, eventually slowing down the two high-speed style wrestlers. We get the double lariat onto May Sarah, and then we do see the lariat sandwich onto Yuna and May. Yuna and May, they come back with drop kicks, forearms, and lariats. They hit the stereo Fisherman Busters that scores May and Yuna a 2 count. However, May goes for the shooting star roll up. However, Ruaka is able to switch her body weight around and stack May Sarah for the 3 count. 3 3/4 stars. Ruaka getting another big win here. I think she's pretty much gotten every single win here for BMI 2000, pinning the high speed champion and one of the best wrestlers in the best wrestling companies in the world in one May Sarah. Ruaka, again, is another one that her stock has gone up quite a bit. Obviously, she didn't come away the 5-star Grand Prix with a lot of points, but they're doing a great job highlighting here in the tag matches, the multi-person matches. Tora looked great here. Or excuse me, Ruaka looked great here, pinning May Sarah and kind of, again, May Sarah going for that rolling shooting star, and Ruaka was just like, I'm just going to use a little bit of momentum here, stack everything here to get May Sarah pinning her. Again, Ruaka is another one that, as we are 1 month away from the end of the year, when we're looking at the most improved wrestler in all of wrestling, we have to throw Ruaka on the list at what the Lady C with a with the Lady C with my Sakurai was last year with yeah, I think like Lady C is probably my front runner for most improved wrestler. Chikagoto, that's what I was looking for, folks. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep. Chikagoto, probably my front runner for most improved wrestler of the year, but Ruaka's not too far behind and still a month ago, and she is one half of the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Champions. Folks, match number 4, Blue Stars action, as we have the Tokyo Towers of Ami Sourei and Lady C taking on O2 line of Azumi and Miyu Amasaki. Lady C and Ami Sourei coming in with 6 points. Azumi and Miyu Amasaki coming in with 2 points. So we do have that O2 line is officially eliminated from this tournament. And if the Tokyo Towers want to remain available to qualify for a playoff spot, this is a must-win match they have here right now with O2 line. We start off with Lady C and Miyu Amasaki, with Lady C overpowering Miyu Amasaki. But it doesn't take Azumi too long to realize I need to come in here and make the save. So we get some great O2 line classic teamwork onto Lady C. Eventually, Lady C is able to make her comeback with a big boot and chops to Miyu Amasaki. She parlays that into a giant swing onto Miyu Amasaki. We get some great teamwork from Ami and Lady C onto Miyu. Miyu eventually stops the teamwork with a double pop-up DDT, tag into Azumi, and Azumi comes in, as she always does, absolute fire. The kicks, the drop kicks, the high-speed explosive offense, really great form exchange, and some really great stuff with Azumi and Lady C. Again, give me an 8 to 10 minute Azumi versus Lady C match somewhere. I thought there was really great stuff there. Miyu Amasaki comes in with a pop-up DDT onto Ami Sohrei. Ami Sohrei stops Miyu Amasaki with a blue thunder bomb onto Miyu. That scores Ami a 2 count. Azumi comes in for the save. She hits the springboard Joshi-style dropkick, wiping out both members of the Tokyo Towers. Thoroughly enjoy that. Ami Sohrei comes back with lariats to all. And then Ami Sohrei goes for the like a thunderbolt to put away Miyu Amasaki. However, Azumi comes in, hits a head kick onto Ami, stunning her for enough time for Miyu Amasaki to hit the leg capture O'Connor roll for the 3 count. 4.25 stars. This is great. This is one of my favorite matches of the tournament. These two teams were absolutely terrific, despite them not having a lot of points. Again, still kind of scratching my head why they didn't make the playoffs. But 4.25 stars. This eliminates the Tokyo Towers from the tournament. They stay on 6 points, and O2 line, they move to 4. Folks, Blue Stars action we have coming here, match number 5. Shuri and Saki Kashima, they're coming into this match with 8 points. They are taking on the team of Aya Sakura and Sayaka. Kurora, Aya, and Sayaka, the New Blood tag team champions. They are coming in at 6 points. We get some great Aya and Shuri ground wrestling and some great kick exchanges and strike exchanges with Aya. Aya's a very well improved and one of the best striking shoot style wrestlers in Stardom, and Shuri is like the best shoot style wrestler probably in current wrestling right now. And I mentioned it with B and Rana. I mentioned it with Azumi Lady C. I'm going to mention it with Shuri and Aya Sakura. Give me a Shuri and Aya Sakura 10, 11-minute match because Saki was great, Sayaka was great. But for me, the meat and potatoes of this match was just the great pure wrestling with Shuri and Aya. Excellent stuff here. Shuri obviously overpowers and dominates Aya about minute 2 or minute 3 of this match with her strikes and just her brute force with the strikes and submissions. That cues Sayaka to come in, and great Aya and Sayaka teamwork. And we've seen them team up quite a bit over the past few years. Again, they are the New Blood Tag Team Champions, but we're really seeing them grow in this tournament. Again, we'll get into their, spoilers. We're going to get into their possible scenarios of winning this whole tournament because there are 6 teams left, and they are one of them, which again is like, wow, all right. Again, they really grow in this match. They do a great job kind of realizing like we're not going to be able to take out Shuri by herself, but we can use teamwork to kind of wear her down. So it's really great teamwork from Aya and to Sayaka. Eventually, or from Aya and Sayaka onto Shuri. We have Saki. She comes in from time to time to kind of pick the bones, kind of picking the falls. Again, still going on that storyline where she's kind of afraid to get in with certain things, but she takes advantage of her fellow God's Eye members' dirty work, which just fits in so well with God's Eye. Thoroughly enjoy that. Shuri, she comes back in and just absolutely dominates poor Aya Sakura. Belly down armbar, knee strikes, the half-ouch suplex for a 2 count. Excellent stuff there. We do see that we have tag outs with Saki and Sayaka Kurora. Sayaka Kurora hits a big spear. Shuri comes in to make the save. Really great stuff there. And then it does look like after the big spear from Sayaka, our Cinderella winner, to Saki Kashima, it looks like Sayaka is going to put Saki away with the Takamaki Falcon Arrow. However, Saki Kashima slips out and hits the most dangerous move and devastating move in all of wrestling, the Kishi Kasai, scoring Saki a 3 count. I had this at 3 3/4 stars, Saki getting the pin over Sayaka. This moves Shuri and Saki to 10 points, and that qualifies them for the playoffs as Aya and Sayaka are in a must-win scenario on Friday morning, coming in or losing with 6 points. Folks, speaking of 6, we go to match number 6. Suri and Miku Kunai coming in with 4 points, taking on the team of DML, may or may not be known as FWC. They are coming in with 7 points. And folks, you want to talk about teams growing, 2 wrestlers growing as a team in the midst of this tournament? Suri and Miku Kunai, absolutely. They came out with so many great new moves in this match. Again, this was a great, great match. We get Koguma Miku Kunai. We start off with the test of strength, which I thought was really, really cool. And then we have Suri. She comes in. We get the double drop kicks to Koguma. Eventually, though, Hazuki comes in, makes the save. They get some teamwork onto Suri, teamwork onto Miku Kunai. I like the divide and conquer. Let's do a little teamwork onto Miku, a little teamwork onto Suri. We know Suri is the threat clearly in this match. No disrespect to Miku Kunai. I might be the biggest Miku Kunai fan in the United States, but obviously Suri is the threat here. So They get rid of Suri, and we put Miku Kanai in the Paradise Lock. Thoroughly enjoying that. Suri, she comes in with a huge missile dropkick onto Hazuki, and then hits a fisherman suplex for a 3 count. Or for a 3 count, excuse me, for a 2 count. Match wasn't over that quick. We get some great Suri and Miku Kanai teamwork where they're doing the Miku Kanai does the wheelbarrow, and Suri catches her and then picks her up almost like an atomic drop and then drops Miku Kanai onto her opponents into a double stomp. We've seen that pretty much every single Suri versus Miku Kanai match here. And the way they've been building it, it makes more and more sense each and every match. Thoroughly enjoy that. We do get some great stuff here with Suri and Koguma back and forth forms. We get some crazy German suplexes between the two. And then we've seen this new spot. We haven't seen it yet before. We get this new spot where both Suri and Miku Kanai are on the second rope, and they both hit double foot stomps. So 4 feet at the same time onto Koguma. I was like, oh boy, howdy. And then Suri goes to the top rope. She hits a top rope double stomp, and then Miku Kanai follows that up with a top rope flipping senton. So think of the visual. Double stomp from the second rope with 4 feet, 2 wrestlers, and then that insane top rope Suri double stomp. And then again, you want to end your big spot with an exclamation point, Miku Kanai with the flipping senton. So really cool. And it puts Miku Kanai over in that spot because she's getting the big move over Suri's double foot stomp, which Suri wins a lot of matches with. So that spot there is really cool. Great tag work. Makes sense. But it puts Miku Kanai over because she gets the exclamation point on the end of the move. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Eventually, we get some more back and forth stuff. Great teamwork with FWC. They hit basically the BTE trigger onto Suri. Miku Kanai comes in. She takes out Hazuki on the save. We get some more back and forth stuff with Suri and Koguma. Suri locking in the octopus stretch, shades of her hero Antonio Inoki onto Koguma, forcing Koguma to tap out. 4.25 stars for me. Another great match. Again, this show was on a Wednesday, a middle of the week show, and there was like excellent tag matches here. Suri and Miku Kanai getting a must win, 6 points. They stay alive. And then DML, may or may not be FWC, they stay at 7. Folks, semi-main event match number 7, Megan Bayne and Hanako, the Mega Towers, taking on Suzu Suzuki and Rina Yamashita. Rina, right from the get-go, Suzu and Rina coming in with 0 points. A lot of this had to do because of some forfeits from Suzu being absent, and Megan Bayne and Hanako, they're coming in with 8 points. Pretty much seems like that unless something really goes awry, they will qualify for one of the top 3 playoff spots, which again, we will get into in just a few moments. Excellent stuff with Rina and Megan Bayne. This was really terrific. Excellent stuff between the two. Thoroughly enjoying the hard-hitting action we had with Rina and Megan Bayne. We've seen Hanako and Suzu in some singles matches and some tag matches. They worked out really well. Again, the fact that Megan Bayne is doing all of this, flying back and forth to the States and Japan, the fact that like her matches in the United States have been blood and guts and tag title qualifying match or in matches in the tag tournament. So she's had some really hard-hitting matches, and then she's doing tag work with Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford's injured, so now she's tagging with Marina Shafir. We had that blood and guts match, which was just insane. Now she's teaming with Hanako here. So again, kudos, hats off to Megan Bayne. Like, unbelievable. Her love for professional wrestling, it shines through. I mean, she's having great matches here. Again, her stuff here with Rina to start off was terrific. Megan just firing up, hitting a huge sliding lariat and a big stinger style splash on Rina for a 2 count. We get some great, brutal, violent exchanges with Rina and Megan Bayne, and as well as Suzu and Megan Bayne. There's a lot of singles matches, Megan Bayne singles matches. A lot of people want to see coming off this run in the tournament. Obviously, Megan and Bozilla. If you watch today's show, Megan and Shuri. Here, this match I'm talking about. Megan versus Suzu Suzuki, Megan versus Rina Yamashita. Thoroughly enjoying that. I mean, just really great stuff. I mean, but Hanako's no slouch here either. Hanako comes in, big lariats to both Suzu and Rina Yamashita. More power style offense with Megan Bayne and Hanako. Thoroughly enjoying that. We do have the Suzu Suzuki and Rina Yamashita. They've been doing a great job getting this over. And I hope they team up Suzu and Rina more coming off this tag tournament. But they've been doing the forearm sandwich, and it just echoes in this building. And Hanako is one of the tallest wrestlers on this roster. And when Suzu and Rina hit this forearm sandwich onto Hanako, the way that they built it and the way that it was sold, like you, to me, I would have bought this for a finish. I really would have bought this for a finish. That was great. We have Megan Bain comes in from the save off the stereo forearm or the forearm sandwiches. We do have the Mega Tower stalling suplex onto both Suzu and Rina. Hanako then hits a huge big lariat onto Rina for a 2 count. Rina then hits a B driver onto Hanako. That scores Rina a 2 count. Megan Bain comes in for the save, or she tries to come in for the save. Suzu takes out Megan Bain with the big spear. We get a mini match with Rina and Hanako. Really great stuff. Rina muscling up Hanako for the Splash Mountain, getting the win for Suzu and Rina. They move on to 2 points. Obviously, they are mathematically eliminated. Megan Bain and Hanako suffering their first loss of the tournament. Folks, another match that I had 4.25 stars. Really great, hard-hitting action right up my way. And again, the fact that Hanako and Megan Bain are absolutely crushing it, not only on points, but teamwork as well. They are really shining through as one of the MVPs of this tournament. Folks, speaking of MVP teams, we go to the main event. Red Goddess action. Bozilla and Akira Kurigami coming in with 4 points. Must-win scenario against Suriano and Natsupoi. Suriano and Natsupoi coming in at 8 points. Folks, I'm telling you right now, not unless something crazy happens these last 2 days of the Goddess Tag League. And again, this has been a really solid tag league. Every tag team's been having really good matches. No tag team for me. Again, it's my opinion. I'm not right. I'm not wrong. You guys can like whoever you like. No tag team for me, as far as match quality goes, is touching Sorry Poi. I mean, the matches that they had. This match I'm about to talk about with Bozilla and Akira. And again, folks, if you're listening to this and haven't seen today's show, go and watch it. That main event with Sorry Poi versus Serene Miku Kanai was unbelievable. Unbelievable. One of the best Goddesses Stardom Tag League matches I've seen in a few years. They were the clear MVPs. By they, I mean Sorry Poi. They were the clear MVPs for me last year. They're the clear MVPs for me this year. And I mentioned this on the show earlier this week. I actually text Rob about an hour ago, and it's a conversation we're probably going to have soon. Is Suriano and Natsupoi, as far as match quality goes, the best tag team in Stardom history? Let me know in the comment section below, or you guys know how to get a hold of me on social media and the email, which I'll plug, of course, at the end of the show. Obviously, you go to Thunder Rock, right? I mean, Mayu, Io, especially that match they had in Korakuen Hall back in early 2016 versus Kyrie and Mako Satomoro. It's one of my favorite tag matches ever in wrestling. And it's great, and they've had some other great matches. But what Soripoi has done in this tag league, what they done in the championship match they had with Wingori a few months ago, what they done in the great matches they had a few years ago with Mina and Mariah May, now Blake Monroe, and Suzu Suzuki and Mai Sakurai. It's unbelievable. Like, I'd really have to sit down and think about it because, like, their match quality, you can go off 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 must-see Soroi tag matches. Is there any other tag team in Stardom history that has that? Maybe FWC because they've been teaming for 3 years. I just think Soroi is so special. I think they're so special. But let's get to this match. Again, folks, let me know. Do you think, as far as match quality goes, do you think they're one of, if not the top tag team in Stardom history? I mean, it's a good argument to have. Not argument. We don't like to argue. A good discussion to have. Maybe we'll have that discussion sometime on the Stardom Cast in 2026. Akira starts off with a big dropkick to Natsupoi. We have Akira kind of using her hard-hitting style to slow down that explosive offense from Natsupoi. However, Soriano, she comes in because she's a great tag partner and a great friend to Natsupoi. She comes in and helps her partner out with some fantastic teamwork. We get some early Soripoi teamwork on to Akira. Eventually, Bozilla, and I'm loving the story with Bozilla and Akira. Like, Bozilla does not want to team with Akira. Not one, and they're playing up on social media and backstage segments, thoroughly enjoying that. Eventually, Bozilla forces Akira to tag out. Bozilla comes in, just absolutely throws around poor Natsupoi. Just absolutely beats the crap out of Natsupoi. She hits that beautiful stalling suplex into the rock bottom. I don't know if Bozilla has a name for that. If not, we'll name it. If not, we'll name it. Let me know if I think that's absolutely great. And then Bozilla follows that follows that up with a fall away slam. Then when Bozilla gets up, she just happens to be in her corner, and Akira tags herself in. And Bozilla's like, "What the heck? Like, I'm dominating this match. Like, you're losing all the matches. What the heck?" And then as soon as Akira comes in, she eats a huge super kick from Natsupoi. Eventually, Bozilla comes back in. She slams Akira on to Natsupoi and Soriano. Thoroughly enjoy that. That opens up the door for Bozilla. Like, come on, I'm doing all the work. I'm helping you out here. Akira hits a half-house suplex for a 2 count onto Soriano. Akira follows that up with a crossface onto Soriano. And then we do have Soriano with a released German suplex in the perfect plex onto Akira. That scores Soriano a 2 count. And then we have Soriano tries for another German suplex. Bozilla comes in to make the save. She clotheslines Akira on top of Soriano. And Bozilla's like, oops. Technically, she did the right thing because she saved Akira from not taking the German suplex. So you got to give Bozilla credit there, right? Her thought psychology made sense. Thought that was great. And Bozilla then hits a Joshi dropkick onto Soriano, scoring Bozilla a 2 count. Bozilla has been adopting the Falcon Arrow, and she absolutely crushes Soriano with this Falcon Arrow. Thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought that was great. We do have Natsupoi. She comes in for the save, and we do have some great Cosmic Angels style kicks and the Cosmic Angels axe kick onto Bozilla. Soriano then locks Bozilla into the Gambari lock. Bozilla does a great job selling this. Like, I bought this for the finish. And I was like, this would make sense for the finish. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Basically, her step through into the almost into a knee bar and then locks in a modified arm bar. So it's like a half knee bar, half cross arm breaker or Japanese arm bar. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Kira tries to come in for the save, but Natsupoi sends her flying with a released German suplex. Bozilla is able to fight out of the Gambari lock, hits Soriano with a huge spear, and then Natsupoi comes in the ring to try to make the save. However, Bozilla presses Natsupoi over the top rope onto Akira. So is this like, Bozilla's kind of like, Kira's in my way, even though she's my partner. Natsupoi's in my way. How can I eliminate 2 problems at once? Oh, I know. I'll just body press Natsupoi onto Kira. So I really like that, and Bozilla sold it really well. Like, look, this is what I needed to do. Bozilla turns around, and Soriano catches Bozilla in the Frankensteiner and almost gets a 3 count. I was like, I thought that was the finish. I'm like, this is genius. Bozilla kicks out of the Hurricanrana. Bozilla hits a huge lariat and the Liger Bomb, putting away Soriano. Folks, another 4.25 star match for me. I think there's 4 matches on the show that I had either 4 or 4.25 stars. This was my favorite match of the show. This was my favorite Bozilla and Akira match of this tournament. And it's just another great match in the catalog of great matches. That is Soriano and Natsupoi. Bozilla and Akira, they move up to 6 points. Soriano and Natsupoi, they stay at 8 points.
We now move to the show on the 28th of November, today, as we record from Kyoto, KBS Hall, the beautiful KBS Hall, night 11 of the Tag League, the final night of block action. It was announced, by the way, that during the show there was an issue with the streaming service. Now, by the time I'd actually read this on Twitter, it had all been sorted. So I don't know how much it affected it. I also don't know if it was just the YouTube version or if it was the Stardom World version. So obviously, once I get to actually watch the show, I'm sure we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that next week. Obviously, I only want to briefly talk about the results and, of course, the scenarios heading into this show. Myself and Matt will talk more about this show next week when we reconvene in a more orthodox podcast setting. But as I mentioned, there were a couple more eliminations from last show. Reiwa Tokyo Towers also eliminated from Blue Stars. So heading into KBS Hall, already through to the playoffs, BMI 2000 and the Mega Skyscrapers. BMI 2000 already guaranteed the top spot in Red Goddess block. Just having beaten Saori Poi and having tiebreakers, they were already guaranteed the top spot in Red Stars. Mega Skyscrapers needed just 1 point in their match against Anacon to guarantee themselves the top seeding. They were already through to the playoffs as well. But what about the rest of the teams? How many other teams were in with a shout, and what did they need to happen? Well, I sat today and I worked it out, and goodness gracious me, ladies and gentlemen, don your thinking caps, because we are going on a ride. We are starting with Anacon. We're starting with the Blue Stars block. So Anacon needed a victory over the Mega Skyscrapers. That would see them go through as block winners. A draw would also guarantee them a place in the playoffs. So as long as they didn't lose, they were through to the playoffs. A loss would also see them needing O2 line to defeat Saya Kakarora as they hold the tiebreaker over Konami and Rina. Yep, it's that complicated. So stick with me, ladies and gentlemen. Ultimately, it's unfortunate, but ultimately, it will be irrelevant for Anacon, as we've already discussed. Speaking of Konami and Rina really were hanging by a thread heading into this. Need to win against the team of Rina Yamashita and Suzu Suzuki to even be in with a shout. They needed to hope that the Mega Skyscrapers defeated Anacon. Now, this is where it gets complicated for a Konami and Rina. If Saya Karora win and move to 8 points, and Konami and Rina are on 8 points, this leaves 4 teams with 8 points, all having tiebreakers over each other, meaning that we could need play-in matches, as we saw with the 5-Star Grand Prix in 2024. However, should Saya Karora fail to defeat O2 line, then Konami and Rina will be eliminated, irrelevant, because both Anacon and Gorilla Trigger, by Sayarida and B. Priestley, both hold the tiebreakers over Rina and Konami. So that would effectively eliminate them as well. So again, a lot of variables in Konami and Rina's qualification. Saya Karora needed to defeat O2 line and hope that Konami and Rina either lost or drew against Suzu and Rina. They have the tiebreakers over Saya Ida and B. Priestley, and a loss to O2 line would see them eliminated regardless. Finally, Gorilla Trigger, they basically needed O2 line to defeat Saya Karora as they hold the tiebreakers over both Anacon and Konami and Rina. Ironically, they were in one of the stronger positions in Blue Goddess block. Are you with me? No, neither am I, and I'm reading it, so there we are. Let's move to Red Goddess then, and we start with Suri and Miku Kanai. Considering that they'd got off to such a spotty start with wins and losses, they were actually in a really strong position going into this show. A win over Sayoripoi in the main event guaranteed them a place in the playoffs, irrelevant of anything else that happened, because they would hold the tiebreakers over Sayoripoi and Bozilla and Akira Kuragane. A loss, however, would eliminate the pair, and a draw would leave them needing Reckless Fantasy, who were 0-6, by the way, to defeat Bozilla and Akira Kuragane. So a win would put them through. A draw wasn't the worst thing in the world, but a win and they go through. So again, deceptively strong position for Suri and Miku Kanai. Sayoripoi, having gone off like a house on fire, they would just need a point if Dos Locas de Mexico failed to beat BMI 2000. However, a loss against Miku Kanai and Sari would mean that they would need Bozilla and Akira to fail to beat Reckless Fantasy, because Sayoripoi had no tiebreakers over either Suri and Miku Kanai or Bozilla and Akira Kuragane, which, considering the strong position, as I mentioned, they found themselves in at the start of the tournament, it was quite a tenuous position for the former Goddess of Stardom tag team champions. Bozilla and Akira Kuragane, again, have been one of the most entertaining stories over the entirety of this tag league, and actually found themselves in a really strong position to qualify, which, again, when you consider that Bozilla was calling Akira Kuragane useless, they were having arguments and fights backstage, in ring, Bozilla refusing to tag in Akira, the fact that he needed to beat Reckless Fantasy, which, again, 0-6 in this tournament, hope that DLM, or Dos Locas de Mexico, lost to BMI 2000, and Suri and Miku Kanai beat Sayoripoi, the fact that even that was a possibility proves that they've done tremendously well heading into this final night. That's not it, of course. We have still got Aquastella, who were pretty much eliminated. They would need a hell of a lot of things to go their way to even remotely stand a chance of qualifying. And even if all the things went their way, they would still need a play-in match to actually get into the playoffs. So they would need BMI 2000 to beat Dos Locas de Mexico. They'd need Saori Poi to defeat Sari and Miku Kanai. And they'd need Bozilla and Akira Kuragane to fail to defeat Reckless Fantasy. Now, that would ultimately lead to a playoff match because at the time of this show, DLM, Dos Locas de Mexico, and Aquastella had gone to the only time limit draw and were on the same amount of points. So it was looking very, very unlikely that Aquastella would be getting through to the playoffs. And that, of course, just leaves Dos Locas de Mexico, who I've got on the screen as FWC, but we know that that is just merely allegedly. Now, they would need to defeat BMI 2000 to guarantee a playoff place. If they won, they were through. It's as simple as that. A draw wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. They would need Saori Poi to defeat Sari and Miku Kanai, as they already had the tiebreaker over Bozilla and Akira Kuragane, making their result against Reckless Fantasy irrelevant. Should they lose, they could still technically go through. They would need to hope that Saori Poi defeated Sari and Miku Kanai. Bozilla and Akira Kuragane failed to defeat Reckless Fantasy. Now, again, similar with Aquastella, that would then lead to a playoff match or a play-in match between Dos Locas de Mexico and Aquastella. I do not blame you in the slightest if you did not follow that. It was complicated to me as I was writing this down. Basically, there was still 9 teams vying for 4 spots over the 2 blocks. So a lot of things could go right and could go wrong for all of the teams. Again, no attendance numbers for this show at the time of recording. As soon as they have been announced, obviously, I will update the show review on Patreon. In terms of the match results, then, we started with a singles match. Saya Kamatani defeating Emma Maishima with a reverse Boston Crab in 7 minutes and 19 seconds. A 3-way match followed this. Meisera defeated Yuna Mizumori and Momo Kogo, with Meisera pinning Yuna with a shooting star press. Shooting star press? No, the shooting star, not a shooting star press, in 5 minutes and 44 seconds. Although I'm pretty sure she could probably do one, let's be perfectly honest. The rest of these matches are tag league action. Red Goddess block. BMI 2000, Natsuko Tora and Ruaka moved to 12 points, defeating Dos Locas de Mexico, Osito, and Tio Teleco. Natsuko Tora pinning Tio Teleco with the Death Valley Bomb in 10 minutes and 10 seconds, guaranteeing them the top seeding in Red Goddess block and leaving DLM hanging by a thread. In Blue Goddess block, Osu Chimidoru Onajuku, which is obviously Suzu Suzuki and Rina Yamashita, they moved to 4 points, defeating Konami and Rina, who stayed on 6. Suzu pinning Rina with the tequila shot in 11 minutes and 44 seconds, eliminating Rina and Konami from the tournament. We then moved on to Red Goddess action. Akira Kuragane and Bozilla moving to 8 points, defeating Reckless Fantasy, Waka Tsukiyama, and Rian Akira, submitting Rian with a crossface in 8 minutes and 53 seconds. That victory, by the way, for Bozilla and Akira Kuragane, eliminating both DLM and Aquastella from proceedings. We then moved on to Blue Stars action, where we saw the Mega Skyscrapers, Hanako and Megan Bain, move to 11 points as they went to a time limit draw with Anacon, Suri, and Saki Kashima, who ended with 9 points. 15-minute time limit draw. That guaranteed 2 things. One, that Anacon were guaranteed second seeding in the block, and Mega Skyscrapers were guaranteed top seeding in Blue Goddess block as well. Semi-main event, and this was a real shock, not because O2 Line were going to win in any way whatsoever, because they've had an absolutely awful tournament, but the fact that Aya Sakura pinned Azumi And that is a bit of a shock, let's be perfectly honest. Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora moving to 8 points, defeating 0-2 line with Aya pinning Azumi with the pinfall reversal in 10 minutes and 26 seconds. This would mean that they were guaranteed a place in the playoffs. They would finish third in the block, eliminating Gorilla Trigger because Sayaka Kurora and Aya Sakura had the tiebreaker over Saya and B. Priestley. Now, before we get into the main event, that did leave Blue Stars or Blue Goddess with Mega Skyscrapers at the top, Syuri and Taki Kashima in second place, and then Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora in third. Those were your three emerging from Blue Goddess block. The main event saw Miku Kanai, not Miku Aono, Miku Kanai and Suri move to 8 points, defeating Shiori Poi. Miku Kanai getting the pinfall over Shiori Ano with a jackknife pin in 12 minutes and 7 seconds, not only guaranteeing themselves a spot in the playoffs, but also eliminating Shiori Poi from the tournament. So just to recap, your Red Goddess block, the three teams going through from that block are BMI 2000 at the top. They will go straight through to the semifinals. Suri and Miku Kanai in second place, and Bozilla and Akira Kuragane in third place with 8 points as well. Some really, really interesting results here. I think if there's a lot of teams that I assumed you would be playing with in terms of your playoff, Shiori Poi were a certainty. I do understand to a certain extent why Shiori Poi haven't gone through. They were never going to win, especially if that tag league championship shot is going to be at Dream Queen, because we know that Shiori Ano was challenging Saya Kamatani. So I do understand that to a certain extent. However, not having them go through at all, even in second or third, is really surprising. 0-2 lines, really appalling tournament in the grand scheme of things, was a real shock. It does make you wonder what Azumi, Miyu Wamasaki are going to be doing. Dream Queendom, no FWC, even if they were under the guise of DLM. And I think the moment that they sort of came forward under that guise, it was obvious to a lot of people that they probably wouldn't be going through. But I think they surprised a lot of people with how well they wrestled under these masks, considering it's the first time they'd done that. Konami and Rina, I think I expected them to be in contention, and they were expected them to be more of a threat actually throughout this tournament than they were. I thought Aqua Stella were really good as well, but again, I didn't really expect them to go through. The real shocks for me, Bozilla and Akira Kuragane, I did not expect to go through. However, with the story they've told throughout the tournament, they've hooked me in. They really have. I'm really, really behind this team. I am really behind Akira Kuragane, slowly melting the icy exterior of Bozilla and proving herself to Bozilla. Fully on board with that story. I think it's been really, really, really well told. I think it's been great as well for Bozilla to have something else to sink her teeth into as opposed to I Am Monster. I think it's been really good for her. I think it's been phenomenal for Akira Kuragane. She's been the breakout of this tournament. I think you'll all agree. Suri and Miku Kanai, that's a huge shock. Not because Suri isn't fantastic. We all know that. But I know that I was of the opinion, I think Matt shared the same opinion, that Suri and Miku Kanai were paired so that Miku Kanai could take the falls and it wouldn't hurt Suri. Whether there has been some change or not, I don't know. It sets up three really, really interesting matchups throughout the three blocks. It really does. Sayaka Aurora, I'm very happy are through. Didn't expect it in any way, but I'm really happy that they are being given the spotlight, because I think they have been the work rate of this Stardom roster this year. I think both of them are upwards of 100 matches for the company now. Both have wrestled the most matches in the company. Have been real consistencies wherever they've been placed. Obviously, Aya Sakura having the Sendai Girls Junior Championship, Sayaka Aurora winning the Cinderella tournament, having that red belt shot against Saya Kamatani, and then, of course, coming together to win the New Blood Tag Team titles. they've been a great addition to the tag division. And I think I'd like to think that they have a real shot of winning this tournament. They really, really do. Obviously, it's unfortunate that Anacon won't be able to see the tournament out again, as we mentioned at the start of the episode. Fingers crossed for Saki Kashima, and that it's nothing too serious. Hopefully, we'll receive some news sooner rather than later about what is happening in regards to that. Before we throw to Mr. Matt Turner, I will be doing my my previews. I'll go through the bracket as well, and then Matt's going to do the same. We're going to try and splice them together. So I'll throw to Matt now. He can talk, give his thoughts about this night all together, give you his bracket and his preview. I will do mine, and then Matt will sign you off. So I'll see you in a moment. Matt, take it away.
Okay, folks. So now we're going to bypass the show on Friday. And again, if you're listening to this, my guess is you've already seen the show from today, or you at least know what's going to happen in the playoffs. So I'm going to give my playoff prediction, and I really don't know, as I'm about to talk about this, what I have predicted. So Red Goddess Tag League. And again, the show today was phenomenal, especially that main event with Miku Kanai and Suri versus Soripoi. As of right now, my favorite match of the tournament. A really great show and a quick show at KBS Hall. So Red Goddess, Natsuko Couture. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself. Stardom did announce that they messed up the bracket. So the original idea a few days ago was they were going to do round one in the semifinals on the 29th, and then just do the overall finals on the 30th. But they said no. The original idea that we had is we're going to be doing the first round of the playoffs on the 29th, and then we're doing the semifinals and the finals. So the block finals and overall finals on the 30th, which is what they did last year. And that's a style I always like, because if you remember how up until 2 years ago, the 5-star Grand Prix, if you wanted to win the 5-star Grand Prix, you had to wrestle twice in order to win it. So I like how on the final night on Sunday morning here for us in the States, that you're going to have to, if you want to win this tournament, you have to wrestle twice. So I like that. I like the degree of difficulty is head up a little bit. And I like the fact that if you won your overall block, you get a bye. And the second and third seed, they have to wrestle twice in order, or they have to wrestle 3 times in basically a 24-hour period in order to win this. So I do like 3 teams from each block going. I like how if you are the overall winner for your block going into playoffs, you're rewarded with the bye. So I really, really like that. So I like the 1 seed. And of course, I like you have to win 2 matches in one night to win the tournament. So thoroughly enjoyed that. And again, kudos to Stardom on owning up their mistake, folks. We're all human. We all make mistakes. So, okay, folks. So here we go. Red Goddess, Natsuko Tor and Ruaka, BMI 2000, your tag champs. They are the number 1 seed, and they actually finished this tournament with the most points over any team. So they're going to be awaiting the winner of the number 2 seed, which is Miku Kanai and Suri, versus the winner of Bozilla and Akira. So Miku Kanai and Suri will be taking on Bozilla and Akira, and the winner of that will then take on BMI 2000, the tag champs, in the Red Goddess tournament final. Now we go over to Blue Goddess, Megan Bain and Hanako. They're the 1 seed. They'll be waiting the winner of no longer Shuri and Saki Kashima, because again, Saki Kashima is injured. So they'll be waiting the winner of B. Priestley and Saya Ida and Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kororo. So yeah, 6 teams in this tournament. I'll be honest with you, folks. My predictions, I think I might have got BMI 2000 right, and that was it. I didn't really see any of these teams. I'm not too shocked with Aya and Sayaka or Shiri and Saki. Obviously, I know Saki's injured, but really didn't see any of these teams coming. I figured O2 Line was a shoe-in. FWC, DML, they were a shoe-in. Soripoi, they'd probably be a shoe-in. But it's a little confusing, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we're building new stars. We're building new stars in store. Akira Kurigami, no matter what happens over these next 2 days, they're doing a good job building her back up, because they made it look like she's just eating all these L's and Bozilla's going to beat her up and they're going to throw her out of Mila Vita Loca. And now she's like the savior. So, and they have Akira and Bozilla. They kind of have the coolest story going in between these 6 teams. So I'm really enjoying what they're doing. I'm again, my predictions for this were just unbelievably awful. Regardless, this whole tournament was terrific. And now we're going into these playoffs, and I could see any one of these 6 teams winning it because I really don't know. I really don't know. So, folks, here is going to be my official prediction. So, Miku Kunai and Suri versus Bozilla and Akira. I'm going to take Bozilla and Akira to get the win here, putting them into the Red Goddess Finals against Natsuko Tora and Ruaka. So if you remember, Bozilla and Akira lost to Miku and Suri earlier on in this tournament. I think they get their win back. So I'm going to go on Red Goddess Final, Bozilla and Akira versus BMI 2000. We go to Blue Goddess. B. Priestley and Saida subbing for Shuri and Saki, taking on, pardon me, Aya and Sayaka. I'm really looking forward to this match. This is going to be a really, really good one. I'm going to say Aya and Sayaka get the win here. I think you're going to get more steam behind Cosmic Angels, and Aya and Sayaka are your New Blood Tag Team Champion. So it's a free commercial for the New Blood brand to put those titles on, in front of 2 packed houses, because I believe the show on the 29th is standing room only. I think all the seats are sold, standing room only. I think there's only a few dozen tickets left for the pay-per-view on the 30th for the finals. So I think Aya and Sayaka are going to get the win over B and Saida. And then we're going to get Aya and Sayaka in the Blue Goddess Finals versus Megan Bain and Hanako. Because again, I think Aya and Sayaka are really growing as a team. They're 2 young stars that obviously Stardom is pushing and doing a great job. Again, Sayaka winning the Cinderella tournament, and her and Saya Kamatani almost selling out Cork and Hall, like 1,300 people or whatever, having a great World of Stardom Championship match. And again, having Aya and Sayaka in front of a lot of people, not only in the building, but watching on Stardom World on both the 29th and the 30th with those New Blood Tag Team Championships, that is basically a big driver for the New Blood brand, not only for ticket sales, but they always put those New Blood shows free on YouTube. So I think there is a lot more upside having them go into the finals. So, folks, my Red Goddess Finals is Bozilla and Akira versus Tora and Ruaka. And my Blue Goddess Finals is Aya, Sakura, and Sayaka Kurara versus Megan Bain and Hanako. I'm going to say Bozilla and Akira beat BMI 2000. Can I see BMI 2000 winning this whole thing as the Goddess Champion? Sure. That's just going to make the belts mean even more. But I think there's more legs to this Bozilla and Akira story. So I'm going to go with Bozilla and Akira defeating Natsuko Tora and Bozilla and Akira defeating BMI 2000 of Natsuko Tora and Ruaka, easy for me to say, putting Bozilla and Akira in the finals. Blue Goddess, I'm going to say Megan Bain and Hanako defeat Aya and Sayaka. This gives us the finals. Maybe that's why they did this in Korakuen Hall on night 1 of the Goddess tournament. This gives us the finals of Bozilla on one side and Megan Bain on the other. Maybe that's why they put so much emphasis on Megan and Bozilla just throwing each other around, because that was a preview we're going to get for the finals of this tournament. So Bozilla and Akira Kuragami versus Megan Bain and Hanako. I don't know. I really don't, but I'm going to say Hanako comes up short twice. If you remember, she made it to the finals last year with Micah as part of Cup High Mate. They lost to Wingori. I think that Bozilla and Akira take this whole thing. I think they're the most interesting story going on in this. And I think that you give Bozilla and Akira a big win here. It gives a shot in the arm to both Akira and Mila Vita Loca. And it makes Bozilla look even more devastating because she made it to the playoffs. Was very dominant in her first ever 5-star Grand Prix. And now you have her win the whole entire tournament with a rookie in Akira. And I'm not saying it's a carry job from Bozilla, because it kind of is, like, that's kind of the story they're going with. But it's almost just like, hey, not only am I a great wrestler and I'm dominant, but I'm a mentor as well to the young ladies here in Stardom. So I'm going to say Bozilla and Akira defeat Megan Bain and Hanako and win the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. So that is my official prediction, folks. That's it. Lock it in. Good to go. That's it, folks. All right.
Okay, so looking at the bracket, those that are watching on YouTube, by the way, I am perfectly aware that it is still the wrong bracket, saying that the semifinals are on the 29th in Osaka, but they haven't released a new one, so I'm using the old one. So looking first at Red Stars or Red Goddess, and I've got it on my iPad in front of me as well. We have got Miku Kanai and Sari versus Bozilla and Akira Kuragami. as your play-in match or your playoff match to see who will face BMI 2000 on the 30th. So I am going to go with Bozilla and Akira Kuragane. And I know I'm going with my heart. I know I am going with my heart. But this storyline, as I mentioned before, I'm fully invested in it. I really, really am. I absolutely love the story. I think for Bozilla and Akira Kuragane to go deep into this tournament and for Akira to prove herself against with Bozilla to Bozilla, I think is a really cool story. And again, it's been one of the most interesting stories in the last month or so, aside from, with no title matches and things like that. I don't think Sari needs to go any further in the tag league. I think Miku Kanai has done really, really well with the spotlights that she has been given in the block. Again, I think that Akira Kuragane and Bozilla will go through. I imagine we will see Akira defeat Miku Kanai. That's my thought. But what I'm really excited for is Bozilla versus Sari, which again, they put an absolutely outstanding match for Marigold in Korakuen Hall for the World Championship. Obviously, Bozilla referenced that in KBS Hall as well, going after Sari in a promo and saying, I've made you bleed once, now I'm going to kill you both. Dear Lord. But that's going to be really, really good. I'm really excited for that. In terms of how that's going to fare on the semi-finals the next night on the 30th, that will leave my bracket as BMI 2000 against Bozilla and Akira Kuragane. I don't particularly want the champions to win the tag league. I'm not a massive fan of that. I understand wanting to keep the champion strong, and I absolutely do think BMI 2000 should have made it through the playoffs. Absolutely. It keeps them strong. It's like having your champion, Sai Kamatani, for example, in the 5-star Grand Prix, go through into the playoffs. Because again, of course, that makes sense. They're at the top of that particular division. However, I would like to see Bozilla and Akira Kuragane go through into the final on the 30th later on in that night. So my Red Stars bracket, and again, I can't wait to watch this back and listen to this back to see what Matt says, because I actually don't know what Matt thinks. But I think it will be Bozilla and Akira Kuragane making it through to the final on the 30th, having beaten Sari and Miku Kanai in that first playoff match and then beating BMI 2000 in the semi-finals. Moving over to the Blue Stars side, or the Blue Goddess, I keep calling it Blue Stars, the Blue Goddess side. Our playoff match is Saya Karora, and it is now Gorilla Trigger, Saya Ida and B Priestley, obviously with Anacon having to withdraw. I think the chances are, especially because Gorilla Trigger weren't the initial people to go through, I think it would just make sense for Saya Karora to go through. Again, continuing that great exposure. We saw them defeat Gorilla Trigger earlier on the tournament in a really good match. I think they repeat that here. To then go on to face the Mega Skyscrapers in the semi-finals on the 30th, where unfortunately I think the run ends for Saya Karora. Again, there is a thought process that I've got where this is where Aya Sakura pins Hanako, and part of me really wants that to happen here, but also Megan Bane and Bozilla. That's what I want to see in the final. I just want more of Megan Bane and Bozilla. And yes, I might be letting that ultimately run my decision, but I think Saya Karora have had a really good run in this tournament, got further, I think, than a lot of people expected them to do. To then go through the playoff and into the semi-finals, I think is a really good end to their run. I don't think there's anyone that could say that would be disappointing for them. It's a real highlight again for them. But yeah, I see the chances of them beating the Mega Skyscrapers to be very, very slim. So that leaves my final in Act City on the 30th as Bozilla and Akira Kuragane versus the Mega Skyscrapers. And I think the Mega Skyscrapers win. I just think the chances are that Akira doesn't have enough in the final to withstand both Megan and Hanako. However, having won in the playoffs and having given a good account of herself in the final, ultimately losing, yes. But my hope then is that even in defeat, because at the moment it has been very much Bozilla will chastise Akira when she loses, will raise her arm when she wins. My hope here is, after giving a great account of herself, not backing down from Megan Bain, not backing down from Aniko, that she will still have her hand raised by Bozilla even in defeat, and showing a real storyline progression in terms of their relationship. And it's worth pointing out as well that in my booking, they have already they have already beaten BMI 2000. So arguably are owed a title shot later on down the road. So again, that sort of plays into that as well. So just to recap, I have got Bozilla and Akira Kuragane going through to the final. On the Red Goddess side, I have got Mega Skyscrapers going through on the Blue Goddess side, and I have got the Mega Skyscrapers defeating Bozilla and Akira in the final. Whether that happens or not, I have got no idea. My predictions for this tournament have been absolutely appalling. I think O2 Line or Raiwa Tokyo Towers are going to win. But yes, we will see. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Truly do appreciate it. Myself and Matt will be back as usual next week to talk about the final, where you can see for yourself just how poor our collective predictions were. I'm going to throw to Matt, who is going to sign us off in the usual way. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for bearing with us on these pair of Frankensteined episodes for the Stardom cast and indeed the Marigold Standard as well. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, thank you so much for listening and watching wherever you are. We truly do appreciate you. Matt, sign us off. Good sir.
That's going to do it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, apologies for all these solo episodes that we're doing. Hopefully next week, myself and Rob will be back to a normally scheduled program. Again, just with the holiday season, folks, it's just you can only get it in when you can fit it in. Even Talk Joshi this week will be a solo episode just because Andy's out and about doing things with his family as well. So hopefully next week, Marigold Standard, Stardom Cast, and Talk Joshi will be back to our normal two-person format. But folks, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Let me know, folks, who you think's going to win this tournament. Let me know who your MVPs are so far of this tournament. Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and the Twitter is the easiest, fastest, and best way to get a hold of me. Or you can shoot me an email. The email address is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for this Frankenstein-style episode of the Stardom Cast. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. Like I always say, just not my podcast. It's our podcast. It brings all us together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.